A man is taking a late night walk in a neighborhood that he perceives to be a safe place. Little does he know that he will soon be pursued and chased by a crazed madman with a suit on at 3 a.m. This is the story of the Seattle Smiler. Now, the story begins set in around 2011 or 2012. The guy here, at least the man who told the story, his name is Dan. We'll leave it at that. Dan is a pretty average guy, middle class guy in his 30s. Likes to go on late night jogs and late night walks in his neighborhood in Seattle, or at least the Seattle area. So, he's doing his normal thing every night by going out, and he perceives it as being one of the safest neighborhoods he has ever lived in. Alright, so then, he's just doing his everyday business. He would go out, he'd come home, he'd eat his dinner, go to the gym, and then just go out for a late night walk sometimes on the weekends. I guess sometimes even we all might get the urge to do that, but this is a regular thing that he would do. And he did this like every day for months and months. Go for a walk at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and it was perfectly safe. There'd be nobody, and he liked that emptiness and the darkness and just, being able to walk around on the sidewalks with the dimly lit street lamps and just kind of enjoy himself and take in the surroundings. Kind of liked the eeriness of it, but still also was good for him because he needed to keep his health up. He wanted to do a walk at 3 a.m. every night. Now, on one particular night, he suddenly realized that he was going to have some company, unwanted company. So the story he told is that he was walking on his way back home from the park. He would usually walk from his apartment to the park, which is about a 3-mile walk or a 2.5-mile walk from his apartment, and then he'd come back home, and that would be his midnight stroll. On this particular night, on the way back from the park, he noticed off in the distance what he thought may be an animal. He thought it might be just maybe a raccoon or some type of animal, and he stopped in his tracks. But he perceived it as being probably a fox or just some animal, and he just kept walking slowly towards it to see if he could get a better look. And then as he got closer, he could see that this thing that was moving off in the distance, in the darkness, in the shadows cast by the trees and the bushes, he could see that it was definitely way too large to be a raccoon or any sort of animal that would be known in that local area. Yeah, or any sort of deer. He thought maybe it could be a deer, but it was definitely not a deer. As he was getting closer and closer, he realized that it was definitely a person. And not just a person out taking a late night stroll just like he was. A person that was wearing a suit, a very fancy, like almost like a tuxedo or a business casual suit. But this is at 3 o'clock in the morning somewhere, on a trail somewhere in Seattle. Why is someone dressed up in a suit? But what was even more disturbing about what he saw was what this guy was doing. See, he was just simply dancing out in the moonlight, just dancing around, waltzing around, spinning around, twirling around, staring up at the sky for the most part. He noticed that he never really made eye contact with the person. All he noticed was that this person was constantly staring up at the sky. And the creepiest thing about this person was he had just a massive grin on his face. A massive grin on his face. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. He's dancing around in the darkness. No one else is around. There are no other witnesses. It's just him and this person that he's run into. And he's wearing a suit, and he's not saying anything. He's just dancing out in the open, smiling at the sky. Right? So this unnerves him. And he just can't believe what he is seeing. But he's unnerved by what he saw. So he crosses the road. There are two sidewalks and there's a road in the middle. So he crosses the road to the other sidewalk on the other side of that road, and thinks that maybe this guy's just high on drugs or something, and he just doesn't want to look at that, wants to see if he can just walk by this person. And he's able to then walk past him. So he's this crazed suit wearing guy is still on the other side of the road, and he's on this side, and he's trying to walk past him, so that he can then walk around him and then get back on to his trail and then back towards his apartment. But as he walked past him, he thinks, okay, everything's fine. He's not rushing at me. He doesn't have a knife. He doesn't have a gun. He's not doing anything to me. He's just over there dancing, minding his own business. I don't want anything to do with him. I'm just gonna act like that's not happening. I'm not seeing this. So he keeps walking, but then he turns around to look to the other side of the road to see, what's that guy doing? Is he still dancing? And he looks over there, and then he sees he's gone. And he takes another take. He's like, where'd he go? He's not on the other side of the road anymore. Where did he go? He thought he may have run up into the bushes or into the woods. No, he actually, when he looks all the way behind him, a full 180, he realizes that he is halfway across the road. So now there's a road, and then there's that other sidewalk on the other side of the road. He has walked halfway into the middle of the road now, towards his side of the sidewalk, and he's still got the grin on his face. He's still kind of staring up at the sky, and he's not dancing anymore. He's just standing in the middle of the road, standing still, with the same smile on his face, the same upward-looking expression, and he's in the middle of the road this time, and he's now facing towards his side of the sidewalk. And as soon as he starts walking again, and now he's getting worried. As soon as he starts walking again, that this suit-wearing guy reanimates, and then he fully crosses the road onto his side of the sidewalk, all while still smiling, grinning at the sky. And now, but not dancing has stopped at this point, but he's still grinning. He's still staring at the sky, and now he's on his end of the sidewalk. He's about 200 or 300 feet behind. And then he notices this guy. He starts dancing again. The dancing starts again. He starts twirling around and spinning around and doing some weird dance. And he gets closer and closer as he dances. And at this point, he's petrified in fear. He doesn't know what to do, if he should run, or maybe if he could talk to this person. He just froze. He didn't know what to do. Dan, the protagonist who told the story, saying that he just froze. He didn't know exactly what to do at this point. He just thought maybe standing still would make him just leave him alone and go away. So then this man starts dancing. He's getting closer and closer now 300 feet, now 200 feet, now 100 feet. Now he's getting right up to him. And at this point, he wants to say something. He wants to make a statement. He wants to see if he can tell him to F off. All right. So he tries to say F off. Or what the F do you want is something that he tried to say something along those lines to this madman who's dancing and staring at the sky. And he said he never ever got to make eye contact with this guy. He always remained staring up at the sky, huge grin on his face the entire time. He never made eye contact with him. He never actually looked straight at him. And when he got within about 20 feet or 30 feet, within striking distance, he stops. He just stops, and he's still staring at the sky and still smiling. And then Dan tries to tell him F off or get lost in a deep authoritative voice to show that he's not playing around. But he said that all that came out was just what do you want? So basically he started stuttering, because when you're in that type of fear situation, you can only, what comes out is not authoritative or forceful. Even if you try to, if you're that scared, it's just a whimper like of get lost or it just came out like that. It came out like in a quiet, shaky voice. So he clearly now has given this person the impression that he's afraid, and he's got him in a position where he's afraid now. Now this suit wearing madman does not ever touch him. He just keeps staring at the sky, and then he starts dancing again. Never makes eye contact with him, and then he starts dancing away from him now. So now he starts going further and further away. And he's getting about maybe, again, 100 feet, 200 feet while dancing, staring at the sky, grinning, the entire time with a huge smile on his face. And the smile never stops. His facial expression never changes. And when he said he danced himself away about I guess maybe 150 feet up into some area where the trees were. He stops dancing, again spins around, and then now he's crouching. He sees him crouching down, like if someone was squatting or whatever, just crouching. And again, same thing. The facial expression doesn't change. He's still got a grin on his face. He's still staring mostly up at the sky, but he's just crouching, bent down like that, on his knees. And then he doesn't move, and it just ends up in a stalemate like that for apparently like a good minute from what he's talking about. He doesn't move from that position. He starts to walk. Now he starts to quickly walk away. He gets his bearings, and gets his wits about him, and starts trying to quickly just get out of there. Then he hears from behind him the sound of footsteps running towards him, like turns around and he sees this this crazy suit man. Again, now no longer looking at the sky. Now he's looking mostly straight towards him. Still got the smile on his face, and now he's charging towards him full speed. So then at this point he bolts, he books it, he runs all the way. He starts screaming for help. He starts yelling. He's like, running as fast as he can, looking behind him. This guy's still behind him, and he's closing the gap too. He's still behind him. He runs up. He finds some buildings. He finds some places where people are gonna live. He gets to kind of the area where the apartment of his might be, because there's like a lot of apartments in the area. So he goes straight into an apartment parking lot and starts screaming for help, telling someone to call the cops. There's a crazy person chasing him, and as soon as he did that, he turned around and he was gone. The suit man was gone. We didn't see him again. And he woke up a whole bunch of people. Some people did call the police. The police showed up, and I think he himself may have called the police also. The police eventually end up showing up for whatever reason, and then he tells them the story of what happened and with this guy, and the police are like, we've never seen anyone like that. He's like, this is a safe area. We've not seen anyone like that. What is his description? He gives the description. He says the guy is, probably average height, probably like maybe 5'10" or 6 feet tall. Average build. He's not ugly. He's not handsome. He's just average looking, wearing a suit, got a huge grin on his face, staring up at the sky in the middle of the night with the full moon out, dancing away. And he's just alone out there doing that, and now he's basically trying to terrorize people who are passing by, it seems. The police take down, all of his story and everything. They file a police report. They said, okay, we'll look out for him. So the police actually went out into the area. They did a search of the area. They patrolled the area. They tried to find him. They never found him. They were not able to locate this suit guy. And that was the last he ever saw of him. He never saw him again on any other occasion, because he himself, in the subsequent days and weeks, he tried to go out and find this guy in his car. So he gets into his car and then tries to, with all the doors locked, so he's at least somewhat protected, drives around in his car, at 3 a.m., seeing if he can locate this guy and then get the police on him. But he never sees him again. It was a one-time thing. He was never seen again. He was never seen before that day, and he was never seen again after that day. So that's the story of the Seattle Smiler. And that's it for this episode. If you like what you see, please like, share, subscribe. It really helps the channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.